Welcome to Chat with Dr. Kat. I'm Dr. Kat. Nice to see you. Today we have another podcast on in the wild. What goes on in the wild, things that we can do to maybe be aware, because that really is the first step to it, is be aware. Maybe there's things that we do that we're not aware of. Clinically speaking, sometimes people act out aggressions and thoughts and feelings outside in the wild, and everyone else kind of has to pay for it. So what are some things that we can do? The first step is to have awareness. So part of being in the wild is learning about what's out there. Thank you for sending in your thoughts on in the wild and your suggestions. Some of them are quite funny, and some of them, you see a pattern to a lot of them. This one in particular, the first one I'm going to be talking about today, was pretty huge. But before I get to that, don't forget to go to chatwithdrkat.com and please continue to put in your suggestions, thoughts, feelings. It can be anonymous, or you can put in your name, your email address, whatever you're comfortable with. Just keep bringing them in. I really appreciate it. Remember, no fluff, no judgment, just real talk that leads to real change. Okay, let's talk about the first one. Again, this one was sent in quite a bit, and that is remarks on social media. A lot of different thoughts around that. You know, I've always taken note of different comments that people make. I take note of what I make. A lot of times I really do move away from making comments, except for like friends and family, happy holidays, happy birthday. I always make a comment the best I can, because it's just my way of putting out there, I see you, I'm happy for you, we are friends on social media, I want to honor you. That's why I make sure I do that. That little note, again, can make somebody very happy, so I think it's great. But let's talk about some of these other comments. I've spent the last couple of days just kind of going through different, Instagram Reels, TikTok, even my basic pages on Facebook. When somebody says, hey, has anyone noticed that this car has been parked here for 3 days? What do you think I should do? I've already called the city. They haven't come out. What do I do? And again, I'm picking an actual true one that I saw. People will start saying, oh, what you need to do is call this number, blah, blah, blah. What you need to do is this. Oh, let me connect this one person on here because they have access to the city. And then, lo and behold, a lot of times it turns into shaming the person who has posted the original post. Or it becomes political. And then it becomes a political debate. And then it becomes, a slam fest of just being rude and mean and cutting people off at the knees. I know you've all seen it if you're on social media. It happens a lot. I was on TikTok and I was looking at a couple of the different reels, and anywhere from those mukbangs to where they're eating, and they're chewing and they're eating their dinner in front of you, or they're trying to eat as much as they can or as fast as they can. And it's an interesting thing. Sometimes people will comment and say, wow, the way you chew makes me sick, or the way you chew makes me want to run out and go buy that. Now, there's different things like that. People do have a right to their opinion. You are putting it out there, and a lot of times people are doing this to actually earn an income. So they're putting themselves out there. They're making themselves known. They're making themselves vulnerable. But sometimes the comments get pretty nasty. There's this one person that came up with, I believe it's called the Tiffany plate. And if I'm wrong with the name, forgive me. But she'll do things like cucumber, and mustard, and she eats it, and chicken sausage and mustard. And she does this, which I think is adorable. And when I really kind of got further into it, a lot of it was to make her body healthy. She wanted to lose some weight, and she wanted to share what she was doing. Then she became pregnant. Then she was wanting to lose baby weight. I could not believe the amount of negative comments this woman was getting, along with amazing positive ones. Now, with the positive comes the negative, with the negative comes the positive. But some of these comments were so blasting and so negative. Anything from, oh my gosh, I don't know if you've noticed, the way you chew, you close one eye. What's up with that? You look like an idiot. What? She does close her eye when she takes a bite of a sausage. I think it's cute. It doesn't affect me or my life one way or another, but someone having to put something in, and then the other person says they're protective, and they say, wow, why do you have to be so mean? And then that person again slams that person, and it goes on, and you can see 385 messages going back and forth of people just being mean. So here's the thing. Clinically, those people are very angry. They're very angry. They're very hurt. Something's going on with them. If you take time out of your day to be brutal and mean and nasty to another human being that you know or you don't know, something's going on. Something's going on. Because we should be kind. I talk about kindness a lot in my podcast. My hope is that it creates a ripple effect, and it just continues kindness when you become aware. Again, the first step to a lot of this is awareness. So you've got to look to see, are you the person that already starts with the negative comment? Or are you a person that is positive, uplifting? Who are you, and what are you about? If you have a friend who tends to blast, what is that about? Maybe there's something going on with that friend that may be reaching out and saying, hey, what's going on? Because if I go back to that woman with this plate, I saw a lot of different posts she made after that saying, wow, somebody made this comment. I'm not sure why that happened. I'm not sure why that angered you. I have to tell you, it really hurt my feelings. Now, she's put herself out there. She's made this a part of how she makes money. She made this, no one's forcing her to do that. She did it. But I really admire her that she came out and said, basically, why do you need to be so mean? If you don't like what I'm saying, please, it's okay. Move on. It's okay. Now, let's go to some of these other posts that turn into political conversations. Again, angry, hurt people are hurtful, angry people. Does that make sense? So you hurt people because you're angry and you're hurt. So hurt people hurt people. If something's going on with you, please, I really welcome you to, again, start that awareness, start the healing. It's a change that could happen right now. You could decide, wow, listen to this podcast and you say, I am that person that gets angry. I am that person that usually responds kind of biting. Why do I do that? Maybe you're not aware that you're that angry. Maybe you're not aware of what's going on with your body. Maybe there's something happening. Maybe there's a hormonal change. Maybe there's something physically going on with you. Maybe you have a pain in your body that you don't realize that you've begun to endure. Maybe you're isolated. You're no longer around a lot of people. Therefore, you don't know the subtleties of being kind and appropriate. Now, what I am not saying is, you don't have a right to your opinion. You absolutely have a right to your opinion. You have a right to bring clarity. But should it be okay and should it be your right to be cruel? I don't know about that. It's an interesting thing. I was talking to a really, really good friend of mine, and I'm going to have her come on as a guest. She's a wonderful individual, really wonderful individual, brilliant woman who just has well-formulated opinions about a lot of things and politics. And when we started our friendship, I remember we kind of got into this heated conversation. And I said to her, you know what? I'm not that person. I don't want it to be heated. I don't want it to be where we need to then become angry and put each other down. Oh, like you always think this way, or you always feel this way. Your party comes at people this way. I want to move away from that. What I want to work on is I want to learn more about what you're thinking. I want you to learn more about what I'm thinking, but I don't want it to be heated. I really want to learn from you. I want to sit down and have a great conversation. I have to tell you, after this conversation I had, actually there's two people that really stand out in my life. One person that I've known since my oldest has been from first grade, and another one that I met when my youngest was in middle school. And these two people stand out because it doesn't matter what we think or believe politically. What matters is that we have the respect to listen to one another. And most of the times when I walk away from a conversation, I feel like I've learned something, and I feel like I've taught something. Or sometimes we just left in agreement, or other times we've left in disagreement, and that's okay. You know, during this last election, there was a lot of anger that came out into my practice, where I heard from people saying, wow, I don't know if I can be friends with my friend anymore because he or she thinks differently than I do. I don't know if I can stay married because this is what's going on. Well, look, here's a long story short of it, and I want to get back to social media. Look at your friendships. Look at your relationships. You know, relationships are a little bit harder because, you wake up every morning, if you put the news on, you're always going to be on opposing sides. That's a difficult one. So you have to really think that out, have some rules, some boundaries, some guidelines within the marriage in order to go over that. I always joke in my family because my husband and I came from colleges that were rivals. I always say mine's better. I think I'm right. But anyway, the rivalry exists. But it's something that we do during the football season in particular that's kind of fun. It's kind of a way for us to recapture our time and we have fun with it. But if it gets to the point that you're being cruel, it's not good. It's just not good. Being cruel to another person for a different belief is not the best way to go. So again, circling back, these two wonderful friends that I have in my life where I feel like I can have these conversations, it's a gift. I feel like it's a gift. And I feel like it's a gift for me to give to them and a gift for me to receive. And that is the gift of patience and the ability to have a good conversation. Now, like I was saying in this past election, there was a lot of anger around that. So here's some of the suggestions I gave to people. Again, make a list of all the wonderful things that you love about your friend and your friendship. Do a pro-con list. If you find more cons in the pro, it's not just about the election. If you find more pros and the con is the election, you may want to give it some leeway. Have a conversation, a real conversation. Now, let's go back to social media. If you are the person who is constantly attacking somebody, and again, I talked about the mukbang, the chewing ones. If it's somebody who has extra weight on them, there's a lot of attacks about their weight, a lot of attacks about, oh, you're going to have a heart attack. And I've seen other people that say, wow, I really like your videos. And I really like you. I am a little bit concerned with the, amount of food or amount of sweets you're eating. I hope you get this checked. I hope you're, working on yourself, but I really enjoy your videos. Okay, you're letting somebody know you're concerned about them, but you're not being cruel. You'll see other ones that are like, oh, you're nothing but a bleepity bleep, blank, blankety blank. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Why do you feel the need to knock someone down? It's the same thing with celebrities. Celebrities on social media and celebrities that are out in the public, a lot of times you don't think that they get hurt. I can share with you that a large part of my practice had been dedicated to working with motion picture population of people from, grips, the directors, the talent, everybody. A lot of them share the same issues, a lot of time away from their families, things like that. But one of the things that always came up was what they heard about themselves in the media, whether it was in magazines or social media or whatever it is, and the cruelty that they felt when someone didn't really know the whole story, but were creating all these judgments. And the person felt justified in saying it because that celebrity chose to be out in the public eye. Well, they're right. They chose that. But again, I go back to, why do you feel you have the right to be cruel? You can be enlightening. You can be smart. You can bring a lot of value to the table by presenting your opinion in a way that can be heard. The moment you become angry and bitter and resentful and a finger pointer, people stop listening. You'll have other angry people join on. Well, then maybe you guys can form a club that are cruel people that want to go out there. But it's just going to be the cruel feeding into the cruel, feeding into the cruel. Stop. Make a change today. Decide. Do you want to continue to be that person who is so opinionated that you get to the point of cruelty or not? Who are you? Are you that person? I don't know. Check it out. See what's happening with you. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This one, we got a lot of feedback on as well. I like this one because it's something that I always talk about. Now, I like to shop at Trader Joe's. And there's a few other places that I like to go to, especially markets. A lot of times people are, there's people walking in and out, a lot of people. So it's pedestrian versus the car out in the wild. Okay. I live in the state of California. I know it does differ by states, but I'm going to talk about California because I do see it in a lot of other states as well when I travel. And that is, Californians feel that they have the right of way no matter what if they're walking. If somebody is backing up their car, a pedestrian will just walk right behind the car. If you're trying to pull into a spot, that person decides to walk from the other lane through your spot that you're turning into. Now, there's other pathways, but they walk into that and they feel justified. Maybe, you have been waiting and someone comes out walking, no pausing, just walking. I always find the ones that are really fascinating for me is this. I always tell my children and just anybody really is that you should always have your eyes meet the driver's eyes so that they know you're there. You can't assume, especially with social media and people being on their phones, if they can see you. So I always stop and I look. Sometimes I wait for for me to move on. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry and I see that I want to get through, I can say this, I still wait. I still wait. Why? Because here it is. Here's the logic. I'm a human being that's going up against a massive car, a pile of metal that weighs a lot, that has an engine, that has fuel in it, that allows it to go fast. If I go up against that car, I'll lose. Even if I'm in the right, I'll lose if I get hit by that car. I'll get injured or even worse. Don't go up against a car. People, will go jaywalk. They'll do a lot of things and they're expecting people to stop. Here's the thing. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of what you're showing your children. Show your children that there is respect of that car. Here's the other thing. I think we're all people. When we're coming out of a grocery store or pulling into the grocery store, we all have the same goal. We want to purchase food for our families or for ourselves to, bring nutrition to our bodies. This is our common goal. Isn't it okay to sometimes say, oh, no, please go? I will tell you this. I've made it a point that when I'm in a parking lot, I always look for the red backup lights. And I stop too. Sometimes I just stop and let the person get into their parking spot because 10 other people did not. What does it come back down to? Kindness. We're all in it together. Why should because I'm out of the car, why should I have more access to move around than the person who's driving in? We're people. Let's be kind. Let's be appropriate. One last example. Again, Trader Joe's. I remember I was backing up and I looked and I have the backup camera and I'm, looking and I proceed. I look, I turn around, I proceed back. And all of a sudden, a woman and her kids jump out in the back of my car. I come to a stop, but it was a fast stop. And I see these small kids. And then I see a dad reach out, grab one of the kids, and pull them back to the other side of the car while the mom was passing all the way through. I pulled out of the spot and I rolled down my window and I said, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I said, I just wanted to let you know, I really couldn't see you to the last minute. And she became angry with me. She goes, well, then you should be looking better. And I said, well, I did look. I just want to put it out there that I don't think you want to go up against a car. You will lose. And it's what I think. And I just wanted to share that with you. Because at the end of the day, if I didn't see you, I got distracted, and you feel you have the right of way, you've just risked yourself and your children. Now, I'm not saying go out there and be vigilant and say this to everybody. But this is, in fact, what happened. The husband got up to the car at that point, and he says, I say this all the time. Thank you for being kind, and thank you for your advice. I agree. I thought, okay, great. She walked away angry, and I'm sure they were going to have probably a conversation later. But I felt good about it because I wanted her to know I didn't see her at that last minute, and then I did, and I had to put on the brakes. Okay. Here's the last one, and this was going to be short and sweet because I agree with this fully. Service comments. So when you're out in a restaurant, we talked about restaurants before, but when I didn't mention this one. And if I did, that's okay. I'm going to mention it again because I think it's that important. And that is when you're at a restaurant, it's always easy for us to complain about bad service, complain about poor food, temperature, maybe the location of our table. But I really make it a point. If I receive excellent service, I find a manager and I say, hey, I just wanted to let you know something. And it's an interesting thing. They'll turn around, they'll say, yes, how may I help you? But I could see behind their eyes that they're like, oh God, here we go. And I say, hey, I just wanted to let you know. The waiter I just had, amazing service. Or the other day, my family and I went to this place called Claudine's in Southern California. And there was this bus person bussing the tables. He was so great. He was efficient, sweet, kind, smiled. Can I help you? I went inside and I went to the manager. And again, I was met with a little bit of a, yes, how can I help you? Once I said it, he was so happy. And he said to me, I really appreciate you telling me something kind. We don't get that a lot. And I said, well, I'm making a point in my life to make sure people know I appreciate them. And sometimes knowing how great they're doing just makes it better. You need to know. And they need to hear some positive feedback. So I encourage you, make a change. You could do it right now. Maybe you're going out to dinner, say something positive about somebody. Watch your social media comments. If you find that you're the person that is angry and resentful, please look into why. Your first step is awareness. Your first step is into making a change, is to seeing what you're doing. Are you that person? Are you the person that has great opinions? Please keep putting your wonderful opinions out there, but package them in a way that they can be heard. When you're in the car, don't always take the right of way. That right of way that you have, that feeling of being right, can really bring harm to you, your children, or somebody else you're walking with. Make eye contact. But all in all, again, the ripple that I would love to create here is the ripple of change to kindness. Let's be kind to one another. Let's be kind. So, thank you for joining me today. I'm Dr. Kat, and this has been Chat with Dr. Kat. Please go onto the website. Please keep bringing in those comments. I really do love them, especially about in the wild. And I love how there's duplicates that come in because it's something that people feel. Again, if you feel you have something you want to talk about, let me know. Maybe you could be a guest on this podcast. I would love it. Have a great, wonderful day and have a wonderful time out in the wild.